Imagine that you're getting into dating, you're using the dating apps and you've met someone, you feel like there's that initial spark of chemistry and attraction. You go to open up your dating app and check on the conversation, but it's just disappeared. And then you feel that twist in your stomach and the realization hits you, you've just been ghosted. What is the motivation behind ghosting and what are the consequences? How do people cope? Is there a better way of cutting ties? My name's Kathleen, I'm a registered psychologist and my YouTube channel explores dating, love, and being single in the decade 2020. In this video, I'm going to be exploring ghosting in modern dating. So this concept of ghosting, it's not actually brand new. It doesn't just connect to dating apps. Similar techniques like withdrawal and avoidance are also common strategies people have been using for a long period of time to get out of a relationship. The difference now is that dating is so accessible thanks to technology, so people are often talking to several people at once and it's changed the whole dynamic. There's also a lack of environmental and social overlap with dating being online, so deleting or blocking someone becomes a really easy thing to do, especially when explicitly telling someone you're no longer interested is an uncomfortable thing to do. So in this video, for us to get a deeper insight into ghosting and why people do it, I want to look at what the researchers have found by going into a deep dive study. I'm going to talk about this study that was conducted in Belgium, where participants were asked open and closed questions about ghosting. In total, they interviewed 328 people, 62% were female and 38% were male. Also, 86% of participants were heterosexual and the mean age of the study was 31. I thoroughly enjoyed reading this study. In the results section, it showed things that I just wasn't anticipating. So please go ahead and read it after this video. Now I'm going to give you a quick overview of the results. So first up, the researchers looked at what actually motivates people to ghost connections. And they found a staggering 67% of people blamed the person they ghosted as the reason for why they ghosted them. The researchers actually found 5 themes, so I want to quickly talk about these. First up, it was personality. They were too boring, they fell in love too quickly, or they had issues. Next, it was undesirable actions or behaviors. Things like being too pushy, disrespectful, racist, withholding important information, or sharing unsolicited sexual content. The next was like a discrepancy between what the people were looking for. So one maybe wanting a committed relationship and the other just wanting a casual fling. The fourth was an unpleasant or disappointing experience on the first date. And finally, number 5, they found that the person they ghosted was unattractive. Interestingly as well, 44% of people also blamed themselves for ghosting. And these are some of the themes the researchers found here. The first was wanting to protect oneself, as an example from things like abuse, being rejected, or just being kind of scared. The second was talking to too many people at once and just forgetting about someone. And the third was being too busy. These were the highest scoring reasons for ghosting in the article, but there are a lot more. And if you want to check it out, I strongly encourage you to go and read the results. Something that I think this research really highlights is that in order to avoid or minimize ghosting, it's really important that we are intentional with our dating. This means being really honest in our conversations with people, our profile, limiting our chats to just a few people at a time, and also being really respectful towards the people that we're talking to. So now let's change tracks and talk about the consequences of ghosting. So what we know from this study, and perhaps if you've done online dating before, ghosting hurts. The majority of participants found it upsetting to be ghosted. As like an example of how nasty ghosting can feel, one participant shared how she'd matched with someone, they had a really good connection, they were messaging every single day, and then they met up in person. They felt that the date went really well, they complimented each other, they kissed, and then the following day, they didn't message as they normally would. And when she tried to reach out to him later, he didn't respond. It sounds like this really disorientating experience, something that would affect your ability to trust people. Something else that I think is really important to note from this study is that a significant portion of participants said that being ghosted had long-term negative effects on their mental health. So what are some strategies that people use to cope after being ghosted? Well, this is what the study found. These included deleting the dating app, blocking the ghoster's number, or even reaching out to the person that ghosted them to ask for an explanation as a form of closure. The main strategy that people used was rationalizing, so saying things to themselves like, well, this is the normal part of the dating experience. Finally, a smaller portion of participants said that they readjusted their dating expectations, becoming desensitized and also hinting that they might be more more likely to ghost others in the future. And this is not a good sign because this just perpetuates the problem. To wrap up this video, my deep dive into ghosting after reading this study, it left me with a sense of dissonance because the researchers found a similar percentage in blame. 59% of people blamed their ghoster for ghosting them, and 67% blamed their ghostee as the problem and the reason that they ghosted them. So perhaps this alludes to a lack of accountability, maybe? It's definitely a lot more comfortable and easy to portray oneself in a good light and look for the negatives in other people. But please remember, this is just my own inference here. Sometimes ghosting or cutting ties with someone is a necessary thing to do if they're a dangerous character. And with online dating, you are talking to strangers. What we can take from this study is that dating apps are defining the landscape and the rules for modern dating, and we are still defining the norms. There is so much room for misunderstanding through a dating app. And in my work as a psychologist, one of the most common contributors to a person's problems stems from miscommunication. I hope that you got something out of this, and please remember that this video is not therapy. If you're going through a difficult time, it's best that you talk to a licensed therapist. If you'd like to support my work, it would mean the world to me if you could come and find me on Instagram. I go by kathleen.ann.psychologist, and there I share podcast recommendations, books that I'm reading, and also what life is like working as a psychologist. And if you liked this video, you'll probably like the one that's coming up next. It's called Are Situationships Harmful or Practical? Have an amazing week, take good care of yourselves, and I will talk to you later. Bye!